Resident Evil Requiem has been released and is making waves not only among the fanbase, but with newcomers to the series as well. The game's ability to balance survival horror and intense action in a successful blend creates an appeal to veterans of the series, but also fans of the more action-oriented entries in the franchise. While I can understand how the transitions between Grace's sections and Leon's parts can be a bit jarring considering how drastically different their gameplay styles are, for the most part, it didn't break my immersion. It did get me thinking though. This very clear and successful attempt to balance action and horror reminds me of what Resident Evil Village, the 8th entry in the series, tried to do. From what I remember about Village, it was more concerned with seamlessly blending intense horror and intense action, rather than making a clear distinction between them. The game starts out survival horror focused, then eventually turns to full Call of Duty territory, especially with Chris's segment during the end of the game. I enjoyed playing through Village, but attempting to blend the two genres this way turned some fans off, and ended up looking like an entry that made time to pay its respects to the original survival horror elements, but ultimately was more concerned with being an action-based experience. Resident Evil Requiem is different in that there is a clear distinction between the survival horror parts and the action parts. As Grace, you struggle to find ammo and resources, stressing over managing your inventory and which zombies you should kill or try to run around. Whereas when you're playing as Leon, you're gunning down zombies left and right, loaded up with all different types of weapons, barely any puzzles to solve, the vast majority being in Grace's section. I think a large part of Requiem's success is the self-awareness and commitment to both types of gameplay, rather than trying to create a hybrid of the two. And it's not like you play as Grace in the first half and Leon in the second. You go back and forth between these characters, which I will admit sometimes I felt wasn't timed the greatest, probably just because I was enjoying Leon's parts a little too much, but it's a healthy way of making sure you don't get too bogged down by either style. Even in the last section of the game, where you might think they'd pump up the action so you stay hooked to finish it, but they include some parts for Grace which require you to be just as stealthy and strategic about your gameplay as the earlier sections do. You could argue that this ruins the momentum of the experience, especially if you choose to play with different perspectives, like first person with Grace and third person for Leon, and I can understand this argument, but I think it ends up being a successful way to not only split up the gameplay styles, but emphasize the differences between Grace and Leon's characters. Grace is an inexperienced, non-combat trained FBI agent, so it would make sense that she struggles severely when put in a situation like this, and playing in first person enhances the fear of being in that situation. Leon, however, as we all know, has done this dance a million times, so it's just business as usual. And also, we're used to playing as Leon in third person, so I personally would be a little peeved if we were restricted to first person for his parts. Letting you choose which perspectives you want for each character allows you to play the game your way, and it's a subtle but meaningful inclusion. Resident Evil Village, to me, was trying to be too much, keeping you in first person the whole time, going for the same kind of immersive experience as Resident Evil 7, while also trying to blend action and horror together in a way that pleased everyone, resulted in success in some areas, but as an experience left some things to be desired. This latest entry in the series shows that Capcom has learned how to finally blend action and horror together, and it opens up so many avenues for future entries. Requiem is being regarded as one of the best games in the Resident Evil series, and I have to agree. When I saw so many videos talking about how amazing the game was, I was a little skeptical, to be honest, but after playing it, all the praise is well deserved, and it proves that this franchise is still committed to providing the best gaming experience possible while staying true to the Resident Evil brand. Thanks for watching. If you want to see me rant about something else, click here.